car. Please forgive me for not looking at the camera. I have very few opportunities to really think and not be interrupted, and every time I start thinking, I think of all kinds of things that I wish I could do in the world, and I wish I could say to people who are struggling, and then if I try to wait for a good opportunity or for a better opportunity to, make a video, to make something kind of more professional or, whatever, it just doesn't happen. I go home and somebody wants something, and, so please forgive the amateur nature of this. I'm going to be stuck in traffic on my way to visit my niece and her kids, and I thought maybe I would share some thoughts about some things that have helped me tremendously. And given that we're all human and we all suffer from the same ills, really, I can't help but think that some of it might help somebody else. So just really quick so that you understand, because context is everything. I came into adulthood with a 9 out of 10 on my adverse childhood experience score. Very hectic, traumatic, terrifying childhood. Not, as horrific as it could be, obviously, but the thing is that everything's relative, and so for me it was, it was my worst reality, obviously. So lost both my parents to suicide, and my family pretty much fell apart at that point, and so then I lost the rest of my family for a period of 7 years. I didn't talk to anybody in my family, and I didn't really understand why. It was very painful, including the kids that I'd raised. I raised my sister's kids, and she didn't want that to be the reality, so she kind of made them choose. So the point is that it was during that period of time that I got myself stuck in a marriage that didn't serve me, because I was sleepwalking, and I was just sort of numb after my dad killed himself, and I got married and I had a child, and I kind of came out of this daze, and then I was in and I had this kid, and so I thought I was going to make the best of it, and so I had another child so he wouldn't be an only child, and the misery just piled up on me, and I was really depressed, and of course I went to the doctor and put me on medication, and it helped for a little while, and then it stopped helping, and my misery was such that I did what people usually do. I started kind of acting out. I couldn't admit that it was my situation. I couldn't admit that it was my choices, because then I would have to do something to change my situation, and I didn't know how then, to even come close to doing that. I was a full-time parent, and even if I'd have gone out and gotten a full-time job, I could have taken care of myself, but I married somebody who has many more resources than I do, and a very strong family, and a ruthless streak, to be honest. And I'm very close to my kids, and the thought of even having to share custody was horrifying. And their dad has serious control issues and decent person, but has a tendency to bully, and take over, and doesn't suffer from a surplus of empathy, let's say that. So it just would have been miserable. And so I did what I think a lot of people do. I tried to just really make it work. But I just kept getting more and more and more miserable, and there came a day where I just couldn't take it anymore, and I asked him to leave, and then he was gone for a year, and while he was gone, frankly, I was a mess, because I hadn't dealt with anything from my childhood, and I had not finished raising myself, basically, and I didn't know what to do about anything. I didn't know how to take care of anything. I didn't know how to stick to a schedule. I just, I was raised in exactly the opposite sort of swamp, and so I thought that there was real potential there for me to start, causing damage to my kids, and lessening their chances for creating lives that they wanted to create, which had always been my goal. And so I asked him to come back, and I had started dating somebody, and that went on, and he lived with me for a while, which was kind of strange. We all of us lived together. That went really well for a few years, and then he decided that he wanted to drink, of course, because I hadn't dealt with my childhood, my alcoholic parents, and so that's just what we do. And so it just got ugly and really toxic, and was really very dark for me for several years, while I tried to figure out how to separate myself from that, like emotionally and physically, and got pretty brutal there for a while. And I think I just, right around in that period of time, is when I lost touch with broke contact with my family, and then I held on to him even harder, and then we make all these messes in our lives, and then our shame overwhelms us and takes away all of our power. And that's what happened. I just got stuck. I just was frozen, and my mind snapped, and there was a lot of stress and fear and some trauma in that relationship, because if you have an alcoholic in the same house as your kids, he would have these total, like, these breakdowns, and he would just lose it, and it would be an all-night thing, and I was just trying to keep him quiet, and then finally I had to have him arrested, and I just realized, oh my God, I'm back in my childhood. And so I made him move, but he moved close by, and then there's this whole trauma bond that you get going on, and it took me forever I didn't want to go back to him, but I just couldn't seem to make myself stop. And what I finally realized was that I really had to figure out why and how I let that happen, because I'd been trying my entire life to move away from that, and here I found myself back in it. And I just started doing research, and at that point I had been diagnosed with bipolar, and hinted that I had borderline, but I just felt like what I was just really reacting to to really making my life into this tsunami of it was just a shitstorm. And I didn't feel good about myself, obviously, but I didn't know exactly how to extricate myself. I didn't know how to clean it up, and I didn't know how to, because I hadn't taken responsibility for it yet. I still was looking at it as if it was, my estranged husband's fault because he was being controlling, and then it was my boyfriend's fault because he was drinking, and then finally I started to get like some sort of feedback from my kids that I did not like, because it showed me that things were not good with them, that they weren't in a good headspace, and that shocked me into seeing, I think, that I was the common denominator. I was the thing that was at the center of the bow tie, and from that moment, I shifted my focus about the things that I was learning and studying to how I could become a person of integrity. I didn't know that that's what it was at the time. I didn't realize that was the core issue. That was the main factor. So for me, integrity is the bottom line, and that's actually what this video is about, is the fact that I realized, and I think this is a universal thing, but that's just my observation based on my own experience, is that integrity is the key to a successful life, whatever that means to you. It's the key to happiness, and I think that the extent to which we suffer is the extent to which we are out of integrity with our own truths. And for me, that is absolutely 100% true. The more in integrity that I'm living, the happier I am, the better my body feels, the more effective I am, the more open I am. And it was this realization and working on restoring my integrity that allowed me to just let all the things, let everything that had gone on with my family, just let it completely go. I realized that I had used that time well and effectively, and made myself a more human person, basically. I had become more human. I had sort of chipped away at the barnacles that had grown up on me, and had grown up over me, by my bad choices. And I shouldn't say bad. I mean, it was just numb and sleepwalking. We can't make good choices, and we know that we don't really have our finger on the pulse of what's going on, and so we're hesitant, and we're not tapped into any of our genius, any of our greatness, and we know that, and so we're really insecure, and that makes us reactive and jealous and insecure and not our best selves. And it's just this cannonball thing. It's just this, well, like a snowball rolling downhill, and it just picks up more and more speed and also more and more matter, obviously. And that's what happened to me, and it was threatening to roll down the hill and just demolish my entire life and take my kids with it, which is the thing that I can't accept. That I can't do to my kids what was done to me. And that purpose is what just kept me going, just literally like slogging through the mess that I had made of my life. And I just started cleaning it up piece by piece. And I I can talk a lot more about the very practical things that I did to break myself of, and I'm still working on it obviously, but to break myself of the habit of being dysfunctional and of being a chaos junkie and accepting less than I deserved and giving less than I should, and just being less than I was. And so I had to really just hold myself accountable to myself. My body would tell me when I was doing something, or I was with somebody or whatever, where I shouldn't be, or if I was serving a need other than the need to be myself, the need to honor myself. If I was out of alignment with that, my body would tell me. And I started just really having hard conversations and putting my foot down about things. And I got noise canceling headphones. I put those suckers on, and I don't take any shit now. I still live with my estranged husband, and he still tries to drive me bonkers. And I just put my headphones on, and if I'll listen, and I'm nice and we'll have a conversation. But if he starts trying to bring up things that I don't want to talk about, or shame me, or he's not trying to be evil. He doesn't understand that has a really devastating effect on me, and it makes me uncomfortable, and it takes me out of the moment, and it takes me out of flow and all that, and it's just, I can't allow it. And so I put my, just very nicely put my headphones back on and say, okay, we can talk again when you want to talk about the present, or, if you're feeling positive again. And, we've really had some remarkable progress stumbling forward together, trying to keep these kids solidly planted, and they're great kids, they're 15 and 22, they're amazing people. They really are. And I'm growing into who I'm supposed to be, just by using integrity as my benchmark. And so that's just what I wanted to say, was that, there is a way to be happy. I don't care what anybody says. There is a way to have peaceful relationships. And I think it's the only way. I think that only by living with integrity can we live in in harmony with nature, which is crucial, because when we're not in harmony with nature, that kind of puts us on Mother Nature's shit list. And also when we are in stress, and when we're in struggle, and when we're in happiness, we're not our best selves. In fact, we're not even as human. We really just aren't. And so we can't be trusted, and we betray, and we hurt, and we harm, and all these things that we do. And the thing is that we're all doing that, and we've all done that. And whether you believe in reincarnation or whatever, I don't know what I believe in, but the fact of the matter is, this is just this cycle of life that's been going on and going on and going on and going on. And if you think you can break it all down and figure out who did the most to whom, when, where, why, and how, go ahead and do that. But I'm going to spend my energy and my life energy and my vitality in trying to figure out what I can do now and today and tomorrow to lift people up, and to make sure that I stay true to myself, and that I try to reach my full potential, because that only by doing that can we serve each other. And if you're not doing that, then you don't have any right or place to be criticizing anybody else. So what I think is that if we could just make it the standard that that we expect each other to be happy and pleasant people. And I know that sounds really naive, but I mean it sincerely. I mean, like, it's possible to get there. It is. Because when you're living in integrity, then you make decisions based on what your truth is. So you don't have to lie. And if you own all your outcomes, you don't have to worry about anybody else and what they do, because you know that if you do the right thing, that the right thing will come to you, and that you'll be taken care of in the greater scheme of things. That's just the way it works. And the right thing is anything that is supportive of life. The wrong thing is anything that does anything to harm life, or to bring anybody else down, or to lower your own self, to make you any lower than your full potential. Anything that is outside of that is the wrong thing. And if you live right, you'll succeed. That's just all there is to it, whatever that means to you. So I think that we are in a very scary place, human beings. Well, I don't just think this. I mean, I've just done thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of research and study on the subject, and we've really dug ourselves quite a grave, actually. And we are going to go through some turbulence, and I think that we could make it so much less devastating, and we could lessen so much of the harm that's going to be felt by people who don't have the ability to even watch this video right now. There are people all over the world who are going to suffer so much by the devastation that is coming if we don't figure out how to mobilize and how to care about each other and how to extend ourselves, and by doing this, we will slowly, one by one, little by little by little, we will dismantle the system of oppression. That's the only way to dismantle the system of oppression. You can't do it from a position of hate or of lack or of being oppressed. You just can't. And any accomplishment that anybody thinks that they make during that time is built on that vibrational frequency, on that energy. And that's not a good place to build from. So what we need to do is get better, get happier, get more loving and kind and forgiving and accepting, and build from there. And that's how we build a better world. That's the only way to build a better world. Anything we build from here will be more of the same. And so it's up to us. Nobody's coming to save us. It's up to us, each of us, one at a time, doing their best, and then looking around and seeing what else they can do. And so that's all for now. I wanted to share that and say that I personally, for one, I absolutely believe, 100% believe that we can do this. And I know that we must do this, but I really believe that we can. That's the thing. I really, really believe that we can. It took about 6 months for me to stop feeling like I was living in hell. And just by doing the right things, whatever you think about Jordan Peterson, I'm telling you what, that man has got it figured out as far as how to apply just grit to being ethical and being honest and doing the right thing. And that's all you have to do. If you just stop doing the wrong thing, your life will improve, and you will stop, feeling like everything sucks, and it just all gets better from there. And I can't think of a better way to go forward. I just can't think of a better solution. So I'll make another video here pretty soon and try to give some specifics about the specific teachers that helped me the most, because that's why I'm still standing, is because there are people who are willing to put their content out there and say, doctors and professors and all these people scientists and philosophers, Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden, and just the list is as long as my arm, but people who, Peter Crone is another one who helped me so much. And so there are a lot of teachers out there who are just unselfishly giving everything that they know, and you can live a better life. You absolutely can, if you really want to, and if you decide that it's important, and that you're important, and that you have a role, a place in the world, and that you have a job, whatever it is that you notice that pisses you off, that's probably what you should be working on. And so start thinking about how you could make that thing better and use that as your motivation. And then start thinking of all of the bad shit that's happened as fuel, as fertilizer. And between those two things, just every time you start to feel down, just say to yourself, nope, I'm not staying down, so I might as well just get back up. That's what I do. If I start to feel sorry for myself, I go, is this it? Are you done? Are you staying here? No? Well, then get up. What are you waiting for? Why are you wasting time? You know that there are people who are suffering, and you know that you can't help them from down here, so what are you doing? And that's what I do. That's all I do, is I keep getting up, and I keep getting up, and I keep getting up. And sorry, I just drove past a cop. And I'm in the carpool lane. So I'm going to get off and get out of the carpool lane so I don't get a big fat ticket. But that's it. I love you.